right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb. Welcome. I want to welcome Neil Twa to the show. He is the CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings. He specializes in consulting, launching, and selling acquired brands through the Amazon fulfillment FBA. And he has literally started and sold products and companies on Amazon, like literally like sold like the company, not just the product. And I want to hear a story today about how he's done that. I'm excited to jump in with him. But first, Neil, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Good. No, hey, so before we get into how you were selling products on Amazon, and I've heard of many strategies here. People like arbitraging stuff off Alibaba. I've heard of people like rebranding Chinese products and like reselling it. Like there's
Yeah.
so many strategies on here. Before we get into all that, what does FBA
Yeah.
stand for?
So Fulfilled by Amazon is the planes, trains, and automobiles that deliver products to your house. I don't know if you buy from Amazon, maybe your wife or other significant other
Yeah,
does. I know in my house,
everybody.
everybody. So in my house, if my wife has an order something in 45 minutes, Amazon calls and is like, Mrs. Twa, are you okay? Like, are you okay? We haven't got your order. Because we order so much from them. But it is all of that infrastructure that delivers products to the houses. We leverage that as part of an economies of scale strategy that doesn't require me to have huge warehouses and 20 and 50 employees and planes and trains and automobiles myself. I'm able to leverage their infrastructure to deliver the products to customers.
Okay. And it's a beautiful thing. You can sell your own products
Yes.
or other people's. It doesn't really
Yep.
matter. So with this, and I might get this wrong. I don't know if it's a company or if it's a brand or it's a
Hmm.
specific product. Like you built up like a business around a particular brand, I would assume,
Yeah.
selling a particular product or batch of product, and then ended up selling that
Yeah.
company. Is that
Yeah,
right?
a couple of different ones. And we have a couple of brands that are building now close enough to be sold here soon that are kind of maturing through the same process by which we did the other ones. It's something we've learned to do in 12 years of selling in Amazon and the e-commerce world. I've been in business for more than 18 years now.
Mm.
But really to build an asset base out of a product and a brand, we call it private label because it's not arbitrage or flipping or wholesaling. It's products and brands we created, had manufactured, we sell under IP, intellectual property, so trademarks and brand assets and this kind of stuff, and raise them up in the market, bring up competitive share, and then we offer them to the market for sale. And as a multiples of profit at the bottom line. We have done that repeatedly in every business we're creating, every brand we're creating has an exit stage at some point. Everything is being built to an exit. Same way in like the real estate world, you build a house to an exit. Only we're not building like the track houses or a single multi-tenant. We're building like a $1 million home that can lead to a 10 million or $20 million exit. So we're building at the higher end at the brand side, and everything is created and built as part of that brand value from the beginning all the way through to that exit. And that is
Okay.
kind of the strategy. We call it our platinum principle, literally, building
All
through.
right. I want to start from the top and then I'm just going to move right down to the bottom how you built
Yeah.
it. So let's start from the top. Like, so what was the product? How much did you
Yeah.
sell the company for?
So the first one was actually a supplement company that we had built out of literally a relationship that my partner had with a company that does a large amount of product sales in Utah. And he knew the vice president who had a product line that was an overrun from a competitor. And he said, "Hey, I have to ditch all this anyways. You can buy it from me. Just name your price." And so we literally got that product for like 50 cents on the bottle. And that was one of the first products we branded and launched in the market. And we built a supplement company that we eventually exited after a few years, which was not a large exit at that point, a couple hundred grand, if I'm not mistaken. But really, what it did was it gave us the need and understanding to build and grow the process by which we operate under now. And the second brand was actually a product I discovered. We call it the as seen on TV strategy because we've used it many times after this. And I was literally up feeding one of my four daughters. We've had them all very young in age. They were all came in less than 5 years. So we had a really big house of kids playing all the time in diapers. And we were very tired. And I'm usually a night owl, so I stayed up late and I was watching infomercial feeding a bottle one night, and up pops this thing called seat pets. And there were these products so that you would put them in the car, and they were super cute. And it had the infomercial. It was like, oh man, I'm a dad. I'm going to buy one of these things. And then I snapped out of it and I'm like, oh, wait, I could probably sell one of those. And I went to Amazon, I looked it up, and I'm like, hey, they're not selling very well on Amazon. They're not doing a great job. I wonder if we could outmaneuver them. So we went and created a brand called Belt Buddies to compete with them. And Belt Buddies was very similar to the kind of line of products they had, but we innovated. We didn't invent anything. We just innovated a differentiation in that product. We made it more anime-like. So we developed a penguin and a dog and a cat Their faces had more anime look, and we kind of crossed that over since it was kind of popular at that point. And we grabbed 2,000 units of that on a Hail Mary pass and threw it into Amazon and looked at trying to capture the demand for that product that was coming off of the existing marketing. Sure enough, we sold organically 2,000 units of those in the first 8 weeks, and we were hooked. So we just kept launching more of that product and restocking that product until it became our first seven-figure brand in 2015 and taught us a lot about the building, the growth, the what it takes to get to seven figures and what we that that as seen on TV strategy, which was demand capture of existing products in the market where you don't have to invent anything. You just need to know the data and the demand that's there and then go offer a product opportunity that meets that demand. So it's a very different way that people think about building products. Product's important, and we did create a great product. We increased the stitching, we made it stronger, we made its head better, we made it a better product for the market. We actually charged more than the original company was charging for their products, and so we sold more at higher profitability. And that's where we started the process we call green light, which is looking for products that meet demand, high net profitability, already have a great amount of people looking for that product. And we simply step into the market and say, hey, if you like this product, Seat Pets, then you're going to love Belt Buddies. And we've used that same framework, that green light framework, to launch seven and eight figure companies since then, multiple times, because it's just a product data driven decision making. There's no emotions. I'm looking for products that match data sets. And even so now today, with so much being AI driven, I have so much data and intelligence coming in from these applications now that I can literally see that data, massage that data, and out pops that customer need and intent. And it literally tells me which product to sell.
Hmm. All right. So you mentioned that all over the board that supplement company was sold for $200,000.
Yep.
Which company do you want to talk about and like kind of tell the story on? I'm curious because you've got a lot of them
Well,
here.
there's so many of them. The ones that I would talk about probably now that are most relevant are the ones that are building in real time to an exit. We have a couple of
Okay.
companies that one in particular, my product partner Reed Larson, who's been with me for the last 12 years, and we own multiple versions of these companies. His is very close to an exit. It does around 5 million a year, and
Okay.
he'll be able to exit that company with a pretty healthy margin. Is a
All right, let's talk about that one then. So
Yeah,
let's start there. And so, all right, y'all are building up for an exit. I want to
yep.
start with the exit and then kind of build from the bottom up. So, like, it's doing 5 million in revenue right now. What do you want to build it up to? What do you want to sell it at?
Yeah, it's tossing around 1.8 million in profit off. That's an Amazon channel. We've got multiple channels that he wants to open up for that one, which will increase its multiples. So if it's an Amazon only sales channel, we call it an incubator channel, because once you prove it there, there are places you can take it like Shopify, Walmart, Target Plus, and other marketplaces to expand that customer attribution out and acquisition out to multiple locations, right? Even TikTok.
Hmm.
So even retail, right? And the growth there is going to be the net profit, of course, the seller discretionary earnings of that business will be the basis by which the multiples of that sale can occur. So, for example, if it is $1 million net profit and we can sell it for three times, then of course that's a $3 million exit, right? So if I open additional channels, I could take that three to five, I could take it to seven, I could take it all the way up to 15,
Yeah.
depending upon how I structure the brand, subscriptions, and revenue continuity of those products or services that tie to that. This is all product based in the business we're talking about now, and it sells multiple different product lines within it that have an opportunity to create a holistic exit of that brand company that has multiple brands operating within it. Okay.
Okay.
It could be that we could sell off one or more of those brands in the holding company, but we're actually going to plan to sell the whole holding company itself as an opportunity and be able to create that exit. And opening additional channels will create the greater multiples. Do that right, and there's a huge upside potential. I do have a client that I can talk about that is in a very similar situation. He's already decided to go to an exit in 5 years, and he is at a $29 million exit right now. And that deal flow is finishing right now. Took
What
him
do you
five
want to
years
build
to
it up?
build that up.
What do you want to build it up to? What do you want to sell it for?
He's setting somewhere around 2 million right now. And so I think if he gets between 2 to 2.5 million in a net income, that'll be a perfect spot for him to actually exit that business. There's a lot of companies that we're working in tandem with that one in terms of other market share, different product types, different brand types. Some of them are showing the possibilities of making, 5 million in net income. So with the growth of those other brands, he's looking to capitalize that probably in the next year to free up some of his time and dedicate it to the other projects that we're working on right now.
Okay. So build it up to 2.5 million net profit.
Yep.
What does he want to sell it for?
Well, he'll probably be able to get at that brand level, and he's setting right around 18% or so net profit. He should pull in around 2.8 to 3 on his multiples. So that should put him around a $4 to $6 million exit roughly.
Okay, gotcha. So looking at 2, 3x multiples, which yeah, that seems to be about what those businesses do. What I've noticed is in private equity, they'll buy up multiple companies, combine them together, and for whatever
Roll
reason,
up.
depending on the business,
Hmm.
once you get past a certain EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, appreciation, amortization, all of a sudden it goes from like a 2, 3x multiple to like a 10, 15x multiple.
You combine all those net profits into one, even though they're multiple companies. And we've done a roll up look at before. It's, you just need the operational controls in place because they're typically individual businesses. As I mentioned,
Right.
his is a brand company. And so there's individual brands with profit and loss statements in each of those
Yeah.
that have opportunity. So yeah, a roll up is an opportunity if you have strong operations, right?
Okay.
The same way is that I can create multiple or brands I compete with myself in the market, creating the similar sort of effect without the complexities of additional businesses. That's one of the beauties of brand building in our way, is that I can go into the market, identify an opportunity, create that brand, and see it actually turn into a very good business profitably, and then actually go back into that market and create brand two and brand three and go right back in and grab that additional market share. So it's almost like having two or three businesses, but they're individual brands. They're all in the same segment, serving the same customer base, but doing it in slightly different use cases, slightly different avatars. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. All
Yeah.
right. So what is the product for this particular business? I'm gonna start from the bottom, kind of how y'all first engineered the idea of
Yeah.
it.
Home and kitchen supplies. Actually, first ones were linens. There were kitchen towels that we discovered a while ago, and they were kitchen. The kitchen towels actually did really well, but when it took off, what we learned about was a slightly different use case with these 100% cotton kitchen towels. Very good material, very good drawing. They were an innovation in the market that showed a better way to, use them to clean up in the kitchen and store more water, and people really loved them. They took off. But when it really took off was we discovered that one of the pivoted use cases we didn't identify was people were buying the towels to embroider them. So it actually opened up out of the kitchen and went into like the home and arts and craft space where people were actually buying 5, 10, 20 of these at a time. They were embroidering the kitchen towels because they loved kind of the older, it's called Auntie M's Kitchens. It's an older style kind of vintage towel brand. And they use that to create their wares and then go sell them at the marketplaces. So they'd opened up this whole arts and craft supply side for that brand that actually caused it to take off really well. There's also additional kitchen and products in there that tie back towards to that. He created one called Rossellini, which is a kitchenware branded product and bake goods set that competes with Le Creuset in terms of kitchenware, high-end ceramic based, very nice stuff, sells at a very high price point. That has taken off and done
So it was
extremely
a,
well.
it was towels. You're selling
Dallas started
towels.
and then, yep, then
Okay.
expanded into additional kitchen place, which was the baked set of products that has the competes with a company called Le Creuset. If there's any ladies on here, they may know what we're talking about. That's
So
baked
what
baking.
made you want to do towels though?
Towels was a profit drive, right? They were available. There was in demand, and we saw a market opening where we could make them profitably, and we had an opportunity to tap into the same, in demand questioning and conditioning statement we talked about a second ago, which had to do with market demand, high profitability, and an available market that needed a competitor. And there wasn't another competitor on Amazon selling kitchen towels at the volume that we knew we could sell, and so we went into that market to compete, and that's why. There was no
But how,
emotion
so
side; it was all data driven.
what data were you looking at? Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's a and from what I mean, I just bought
Yeah.
towels the other day. There's
Okay.
tons of options on Amazon.
There are. Yeah, I mean, data for us has become much easier to gather now than it was 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we actually used virtual assistant teams out of the Philippines to go scrape data from Amazon, pull it into a spreadsheet, and give us as much data as we could gather. And then we built estimates and formulations we created to help us determine uh, demand capabilities that we couldn't get and information we couldn't gather because Amazon wouldn't get it to us and no one had it yet. So we were making up algorithmic determinations based on market, bestseller ranking, price points, estimated volumes. They would track here and then they track 7 days later and they track 7 days later. And with that information, we kind of got an idea how much volume they were moving because I couldn't tell. No one would have, tell us that information. So we made up what we could do in terms of data gathering. And from that, we just started to build a dashboard of information. We called it a green light process. That data has become something that we built a version of a tool set a long time ago to pull that data together and kind of got rid of the virtual assistants, and technology caught up enough where we then pulled it together into a dashboard. That then got reinvented into our Cayman data system, which we've used for the last few years with using AI-based tool sets and now Amazon's own data. It's called Product Opportunity Explorer data. I can actually see actual data from inside of Amazon now we didn't see before, and they gave us access to that about 3 years ago. And with that data, I can actually see exactly what the need and intent, the product, the types of products that are moving, the estimated volumes of the products, the actual volumes of keywords and market share. And now I can see a very good data picture that tells me what the heck to sell because I look at the customer need and the intent of that engine, and the data literally tells me, well, this one has a higher customer need and intent and demand. And when I match profitability as one of my variables, I'm going to choose the one that's high in demand with high profitability. And then I'm going to say, is there a competitor that I can go after that actually matches that data segment and actually matches the price point, profitability, and metrics? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to test market that product and find out if I can sell one of those and compete against the market. It's all data driven at this point. There's no emotions, there's no guessing. It doesn't really, I don't have an attachment to one type of product. I have an attachment to the brand. That makes sense? Like, you don't marry the products. I'm marrying the data that comes back from any successful product market test that tells me beyond 100 or 300 units, could I sell 1,000, 3,000, or 10,000? It's a numbers game, right? And at this point, I can look at these different brands. I can look at the customer need data that we get through this process and literally make a choice. It's that product. It's that. I mean, it's literally ice cream machines and record players, and it's a random assortment of products that we create brands around because the data demand is there and the profitability is there.
That was a lot. Let me try to distill this
Okay.
down. So you're,
I'm
yeah,
moving fast,
that's,
dude. Forgive me.
yeah, dude, yeah. Wow, that's a lot of information really quick. So, because I'm trying to distill this down for the audience to
Sure.
understand how
There's
to
4 steps in all
choose
everything I just said.
yeah, okay. What are the four steps? How
Yeah,
would somebody go about choosing a
sure.
product to list on Amazon?
Well, the
And then
first
we'll
thing you
kind of
have to do is think about here's what I tell people listening to this right now. In simple terms, if you've bought something on Amazon in the last 90 days, by Amazon's own admissions and metrics, 60% of those products were sold by third-party sellers. 60% of their platform goes to third-party sellers, okay? Which means that if you bought a product 50 to 300 to $400 in price point, you've bought a product within my target retail price point range. So now we're looking at statements of conditions that lead me to answering the question, what the heck do I sell? And that's step one, right? And identifying that products in the market are in demand, that if I've purchased one, there's probably a million people who also want one. And if I've purchased one at enough retail price point that's high enough, I most likely can make a logical assumption at this point that it has profit in it. Okay. If I'm selling a $9 product, I probably have a low profit. This is sort of a common sense move, right? If I'm selling a $100 product, I have a lot more profit than a $10 product, right? So when we look at that product and we build that condition, we start to identify the products. We just have to go by the numbers to make sure that that product is profitable. Okay, so what I talked about a second ago was a system I built to help me do that faster, to basically show me green lights on a dashboard, blinky lights. It says, hey, this one's more profitable and this one's more in demand. You should consider this product. So I have a system now that sort of answers that question, whereas before you would have to go through a whole research process to come up with that. And it really just gets down to if there is a product in the market that I can discover someone wants, the real question is, can I sell it? And the answer is, I'll get 80% of the data that tells me it's profitable and in demand. I just have to test market that product. And here's the thing about test marketing a product, and this is where a lot of people get this wrong. They think there's not enough good products in the market, and they're wrong. With innovation, there are millions of product opportunities out there. They think that all the good ones are taken and there's no new ones that could be sold, and that's wrong too. And they think that nobody makes it profitable because they hear, gurus and hopium people on YouTube talking about how they failed at it because they sold a product that had $3 in profit. Well, $3 in profit isn't going to cut it, right? So we sell products that have a minimum of $12 in profit. But here's the thing, the product is just a means to an end, right? Like in real estate, the
So
doors
is step one identify the product that has at
identify
least
the product,
$12 in profit?
discover the metrics that qualify that product from a profitability perspective first,
Okay.
and then determine which of those products in my portfolio of brand is the market going to accept the most from me at the highest profitability, which means we're not going to marry any product. Does that make sense? We're not going to marry product because it's the data that rolls up into the brand, and the brand is actually where the value is. The product is
Mhm.
simply the vehicle that gets us there. Now, I want to make sure that that product is profitable because every sale of that product is going to buy a new product. It's going to give us profit, and then I'm going to have more money to buy more product, advance my marketing, and put more of my brand in the market. And as that brand value goes up, every product is a product that has a potential life cycle of opportunity. It may be a 2 year or a 3 year or a 4 year product. So I'm not going to marry my product because it's the brand that holds all the value. So a lot of people get caught at the product level. They get stuck at the idea of selling a product and they're not really thinking about it the right way. Because product in today's world is data. That's what I need people to really understand. It's data. While you get an actual physical product through that consumer relationship that shows up on your door 2 days after you buy it, what they bought wasn't the product, was it? Like when you order something from Amazon, are you actually buying the product or what are you actually buying?
I mean, if I order something from Amazon, I guess I'm confused because I'm buying the product that I want.
Well, no, did you actually have the product or did you wait for the product to show up 2 days later?
Oh, I mean, I bought it and it showed up 2 days later. Yeah.
Right. So you bought the belief that the product would arrive. You bought the belief that when the product arrives, it's going to fulfill your outcome. And then you believe that
Right.
you'll keep it and fulfill whatever activity or goal it was that you intended from that product. So you didn't actually buy
Yeah.
the product, you bought the outcome. If you buy the outcome, then you understand that it isn't about the product until it becomes about the product. And when it becomes about the product, that is, do you return it, do you keep it, or do you leave a good review? At that point, as the business owner, that's when it becomes about the product. That closes the loop. That's the engine that works, right? So, what am I actually doing? And what do you need to be doing in this scenario is you need to be thinking about the product data that sells to an AI engine. That's what we do today. We broker data to an AI engine. Its job is to go, hey, I know 21 million people that want towel racks in their bathrooms. And oh, by the way, you're selling a towel rack and you look exactly like 12 million of those people. And I believe they're going to buy it from you. And I'm going to put it in front of those people and see how many want to buy it from you. And then when I buy it, I'm going to deliver it to them, make sure they get it. If they return it or they have problems, I'm going to deal with all that too. So my job really is brokering data to an AI engine. And that
Hmm.
engine does the rest of the work. And that's where that almost automated income kicks in. Because a lot of people get stuck in the idea of e-commerce as only the product builds the brand, and that's wrong, right? Data builds the brand, value builds the brand, the narrative of that product builds the brand. The product just fulfills the outcome. That's where a lot of people get stuck in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. So when going back to the example, like your towel business, so you crunched the data and found that towels are good and you were able to layer in some additional complementary, brands on top of the data look good. You were making at
Yep.
least $12 a product. You were
Yep.
it was selling, there was some brand value. How did you get that business ramped up with the towels? Like, did you raise the capital from investors? Did you use your own money? Because I mean,
Cash
at
flowed
that
it.
point, I would
Yeah.
think that you would have to have some initial investment to buy the product to store it at Amazon
That is
so that it can
correct.
be built,
You
right?
have to have initial investment. That's right. Similar to putting money down on a mortgage or going out and buying a family home or tenant or putting up collateral or capital to make it work, right? Because it is a physical inventory that we're going to buy at a certain amount, cost of goods, and then we're going to sell it at a higher price point for profit. So this is a physical inventory based business model, right? So as I'm going to put cash out there, I can grow it off a cash on cash value, meaning I don't pay myself profit out of the sales at first. I simply plow all that profit back in to the goal of selling more product faster and with a overarching goal of selling a 4 unit turn or a 4 inventory turn in a year. I want to turn that inventory over 4 times in a year. Okay. With that goal, I have to move enough inventory and I'm going to put more profit if I'm going to do that. Or I may have to raise capital lines, credit capital lines against that business to help capitalize it faster. That may be my opportunity. I may decide to cash flow it myself. I may use a policy or bank in the cash, or I may use other assets to do it. or I may get a credit line in that business and allow the inventory factoring of a credit line to raise up that and let the business service the debt backwards for that inventory sell through rate, right? Buy X amount of inventory, sell through, pay off credit line, repeat process, right?
Yeah. So
And
how much did you have to raise or put in for that first towel investment?
the first towel investment was about 15 grand,
Oh,
right?
that's not bad at all. That's
No, dude,
easy.
these are not huge amounts of money because we're going to test the market. And from there, capital then went to 15 to 20 to 50 to 100,000 in inventory purchases as we grew that up. If we wanted to grow that faster or capitalize it faster, larger credit lines would be used. Like he knew Le Creuset is going well. He just took down about a $500,000 in credit line to take it, not Le Creuset, excuse me, his brand is Rossellini, go compete with him at a much higher level of velocity and turnover. He now knows enough data and information to know it's not that risky for him to pull down a $500,000 credit line, which he just got, to go out and order a $500,000 more of inventory. Because now his goal is, can I turn over 500,000 in inventory every 90 days? It's part of our cash flow plan, right? And could I do that 4 times a year? So some of our larger businesses will do that at a million, million and a half every 90 days. So the goal is to obviously turn that over profitably, buy more inventory, be able to do that process and turn it faster. And the towels were just one brand line that started that process that ends up being like a juggernaut. I have people, that come and ask, how much can I do to deploy into this business year one? Well, the real question is, how fast do you want to go? How much, do you
Mm.
need to see this business grow? I will literally tell them usually a minimum of 25K is necessary to the business to capitalize the first two, three products you're going to put in the market to find out which one you should actually deploy
Gonna
more
sell or
capital
not?
into,
Yeah.
right? And it's data driven, right? Not marrying the product tells me that product one may be okay and product two does a lot better, but product three may be the one where now I'm looking at it going, I need $250,000 like next month to get this thing off the ground because now it's all data saying go inventory capitalizes. It may take me 6 months to do that. It really is going to get down to the speed and velocity of the sales, but we're going to project every 90 days in that cash flow plan how fast and how much capital do we need to grow. It is an inventory model, so we will capitalize more if you're going to see the opportunity turn into 5 figures, 6 figures, 8 figures. If it's going to end up like Daniel and be a $29 million exit, he was running around 17 million a year in sales. Over that 5 years, he had $1 million credit line he turned over a few times in order to make that happen. That's the realistic nature of the business. I just want people to try to grasp that concept because a lot of times they hear this course crap online or they listen to a YouTube video and they're like, "Oh, I only need 5 grand to do this," and I'm like, "Well, you're only going to get 5 grand of value out of it. You're not
Yeah.
going to get enough inventory to make it run."
So when did you know that the towel business was like a proven business and it was time to go up? Because I think you said you're trying to grow it to like $2 million in net profit
Correct.
before
Well,
selling it.
that brand is part of a multi set of brands equal to about 2 million in profit right now.
Oh, gotcha. It's not just selling $2 million in
But
towels and
certain product
profit per
lines,
year.
like the bakeware we told you about a second ago, it is capitalized to a 500,000 right now because it's outpacing the other business. And in fact, towels will probably end up being shut down because they're not as profitable as the bakeware, which needs more capital and is more profitable and is actually turning over faster now. So sometimes we'll make a decision that a product line in its life cycle does not need to continue any longer because it's moving, it's doing great, but its profitability may be going down based on market competition or others, or a new product line is actually doing a lot better with higher profitability. And there's a decision at this point to most likely shut the towels down in that brand because the other is feeding more profit at a faster growable rate that's increasing the bottom line. These are just part of the decisions. I mean, we're getting into the weeds on some of it because your questions are really cool. And so some of
Yeah.
it's tracking
Yeah.
tracking off,
Well,
but that is a decision to end up with a higher profitable brand line in that business that's going to outpace keeping the towels, and the justification for them is no longer there. So we're probably going to shut that product line down.
so what do you do if you have like a copycat come in? Because the lower the barrier to entry, the easier it is to copy. And the easier
That's
it is
where
to
we call our
copy,
cheap
it's tougher
Chinese
to get.
scrappy. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
real problem.
tougher to get profitability if you don't, if you have copycats and these coming. Because like I would be
Yep.
worried about the towel business because that seems like
It
very
is one of
easy
the
to
ones that
copy.
became more difficult over time since it's literally been around for about 7 years now. It is one in which we had enough market share over a long enough period of time that the copycats had a much harder time getting into our market share. If you tried to launch that today, you would fall into that trap. That's why I wouldn't let anybody launch that product. Because it's been there long enough and we had the market share, we sustained it longer in the brand value than other competitors who came in and looked like Me Too products. The differentiator in brand value, a lot of times, is not only the quality of the product at its level, but its perception of quality and the retail price point of it, which again is why we now only sell products 50 to $500 in retail price point. And so his averages are around 100 to 150 for each one of the bakeware products, which has leveled that brand up into a brand to brand competition, whereas now he's targeting everything Le Creuset is doing. I want to be like them. What it has is, though, other brands have entered the market in what we call the cheap Chinese crappy products, which are the lower end products that are trying to move on volume because they're sort of manufacturer based or they're just third party sellers who probably shouldn't have gotten there in the first place. And they're pricing their products at like 25 to 50 to $60 in price point. People's psychology of buying is like you looking at saying, well, do I buy the Acura or do I buy the Honda Accord? One of them is going to be brand driven value difference, feature different, benefit difference, and yet the Honda Accord still gets you from point A to point B in just a different way, a different style, a different brand value. And you may choose the Acura over the Honda for your own personal preference. Doesn't mean both of them don't sell. One of them sells at a luxury, one sells at a basis. So if we move that brand up into a place where we're more like the Acura of bakeware, not the Honda Accord of bakeware, we are now competing at brand to brand value. It's a lot less competition, and it is very much brand driven to the person who's buying that product who will say, "Yeah, I want the Acura version of bakeware. I don't want the Honda Accord even though I know it exists."
Mhm.
Yeah. And with that, brand competition changes a lot. That doesn't mean that it doesn't set it up for somebody to just come in and race to the bottom pricing you, which happens a lot in the sub $50 product price points, where a lot of people get in. There is such a thing as saturation, and it's not brand driven, it's only review and price driven. And we don't play in that at all, right? We raise above the products and brands. We look for those top target brands and we go right up there and say, hey, is there a product I compete with right at directly at that level, come right in at their price point and look just like them at that top level and just avoid all of that mosh pit crap altogether?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. What do you wish you'd known about this business that you know now when you first started?
How fast AI was going to change it. I would have positioned
Yeah.
the business a little differently in the last 5 years. We're now, made changes in the last 2 to 3 years that now have adapted that. I just think that we could have entered a slightly different curve of opportunity if we'd done it closer to 4 or 5 years ago. I don't think everybody understands both the opportunity and the risk of what AI is bringing to the marketplace. So when I talk about
Tell us
selling
more
data to an
about
AI
that.
engine, well, go ahead, sorry.
I said, tell us more about that.
Well, I mean, I was still in product focused selling mode 5 years ago. What I should have been in is how are the AI engines reading the data and how do I get right in front of them and how do I make sure I know exactly how every next opportunity or step in the physical product business, the online world of systems and engineering around AI was going to be. I should have been more into the research, the knowledge, and driving that forward and looking at it more closely. I started at it 3 years ago, and at that point, I feel like I'm still a little bit behind because of how fast it's moving and how quickly it's adapting and changing the entire market share, right? What it means in simple terms is I didn't understand exactly how the AI engines were going to be placed inside of these products, platforms, and online services we all use to determine how to sell us products faster and easier. And if I'd done that, I'd have a lot different market share in some of my brands simply because I would have got there sooner. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at it now going, okay, I got to get there now because this opportunity is that for the next year is a huge opportunity. It's like internet coming online for the first time opportunity. And I don't think many people recognize it or see it that way. And I saw it because I saw the internet come online and I missed some of that opportunity, right?
Yeah, and the internet, when you say internet coming online opportunity,
Literally, the internet
it's
came
if it's
online.
going after the AI.
It
I just
means
want to make sure I
going
understand
after
this.
it and
Not
yeah,
not the product, but you're going after how the AI is interpreting
sells
the
the product.
data and
Yes.
position on
Yep.
that. Don't position product facing. Interesting.
Yes, because product facing is important because I don't want to sell a crappy product that gets negative reviews. I can fix the product even if that happens, but really what it gets down to is how is the systems now seeing competitive advantage against myself and other players in the market or areas I might want to enter as a part of new brands or products we launch. And with that, it's a completely different look at the way we use these engines to reach those customers because that's exactly what's happening now. The same way this podcast is going out into the digital sphere of online, Instagram, and everywhere else, which the AIs are going to use to try to position the right people in front of this, conversation for both of us. It is relative to your downloads and my, understanding of e-commerce and who might want to play around with us. But it really gets down to those engines are selling data to people very quickly. Those are the algorithms we call the viral algorithms, etc. Well, it's the same way in the physical product world because it's all information based. It's just now they made a physical product connect to a digital source in the speed of AI, okay, which is now like quantum computing and a whole lot of stuff I won't even get into because I don't know enough about it to be smart about it. I know enough to be dangerous to realize I should be very focused on how it's now selling products to people through GPTs, OpenAI, conversations, perplexity, and the way that it's positioning products inside of those systems is now an exponential growth and a much like higher conversion rate. Walmart's getting like 20% of its sales now online from those GPTs. These things are changing the scope by which people see, communicate, and purchase products. Even shoppable agentic agents can now buy products for you, and that's going to become your personal shopping agent here shortly, where you literally say, "Go buy Neil's, excuse me, ice cream machine. Go buy this Blizzy ice cream machine," and it'll say, "Sure, I grabbed it for you. It'll be here in 2 days from Amazon."
Wow. So I know you've got a book out. I believe it's Income with FBA. Can you tell a little bit more about that book? And then if people want to learn more about you, learn more about
Yeah.
your business, and how they can get
Yeah.
into this Amazon
Sure.
FBA type of business, where they can go.
Well, guys, just to keep it as simple as possible, I mean, we're selling a physical product, we're building a product, and we're fitting a market segment that already wants that product, and we're simply offering them an option to buy ours, right? That's branding and product at its most simple level. The book goes through the business of that. What does it mean to actually create a business, build the profit, build the value, build the intrinsic value into it, and make it into a saleable asset? The goal was to go chapter by chapter. I interviewed people from my podcast and then fit them into the chapters that build on each of the playbook points that allow that to occur, along with case studies and workshops and information that tie it together. So that as you read the book, you're listening to a conversation that basically talks to you through the book on how to build a saleable asset in the e-commerce world, a physical product-based business that has more and worth in the end than at any time during the business building phase, and the whole aspect of how to build that profitably. That is the book in a nutshell. It is not a tactical or a guideline. It is a strategy-based book that explains to business people how to build a business in e-com.
Very want to learn more about you or your services that you
Yeah.
offer. Where can they go?
Yeah, the book will explain that too, as well as resources and QR codes, or you can go to voltagedm.com, voltagedigitalmarketing.com, to check out what we're doing, watch a presentation about what we do and how we build, why people get involved with us at all in the building stage, and why I'm the first place they stop if they reach that point of acquisition, because I'm looking to acquire companies. So as we build and grow, I'm also the exit opportunity should they want to sell to us when the business matures.
Very cool. Yeah, I know. I'm sure talking about the multiples and the net profits you've thrown on there, that's very exciting. Well, Neil, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Brandon. Appreciate it.